administration to no end. All right, let's see what this one is about.
U.S. intelligence officials said they found no evidence that the UAPs reported by Navy
the deep
pilots in
state
recent
is
years are of
independent
alien
of
origin.
any
So they
administration.
rule it out.
Oh, sorry.
And I think, like the CIA, the feds, like the deep state type are, they have their own agenda, right? They're not really, like, at least back then they weren't as, like, more, like nowadays I think they're much more in line with the Democratic Party, with like the Biden administration. But I think back then, I don't know how synced up they were yet. I think they still had their own agenda. There was still a lot of neocons from W. Like his crew was still, deep up in there.
Right.
So I could see that being a thing. I mean, it was a pretty good limited hangout. And I think you got to look at like what serves the interest of capital. And I think the awareness of the surveillance, right? I think that ultimately serves the interest of capital. Like knowing that they have, pretty much every email, every phone call, all that stuff, right, is stored. Like they have it, right? So I think capital needs to know that, right? Because they were already, like they continued to do it, but they were like doing surveillance on like, European leader, like, Angela Merkel and shit, right? Like they were like bugging her phones and stuff. So like if they're doing that, they would bug like, any corporate entity, like anybody doing business in America, like the NSA is listening to their shit. I think capital had to know that, and I think Snowden was a good patsy for that. To get that info out there, because Obama wasn't going to say anything, right?
Yep. All right. Why don't we play the Ryan and Emily version of that?
Okay.
That UFO deal.
Either.
The findings may have spurred more skepticism of government cover-ups. Let's listen to this recent exchange.
I was talking to a gentleman about the UAP report, and he contends the Pentagon has alien bodies and crafts. Does DoD have these things, and if so, where?
The UAP task force is really designed to take a look at these unexplained aerial phenomena, try to help us get a better understanding of them. Again, I'm not going to get ahead of the report that the DNI will submit. That we are helping, obviously, and providing input to, and I think I'll just leave it at that, Jeff.
Okay, so look at the smirk on his face when that question was asked. And actually, fantastic question. I'm glad those questions are making their way into the briefing room because they're important. And actually, I think something that tells you what you need to know is that the Pentagon actually is taking all of these things as seriously as it is. Of course, they have national security implications, but there are a lot of people at the Pentagon whose job it is right now to work on these sorts of UAP situations. And that's pretty telling in and of itself, regardless of what we're actually able specifically to extract from them, which is increasingly more than we had previously. But I think that tells you what you need to know in and of itself.
I'm sorry, I just feel like
it's weird.
There are elements within the Defense Department now who do have an interest in getting out information about UAPs, and there is a willingness among the public to believe it. There's a willingness among the media to report on it credibly, and you would suspect then that there would be more precise or more smoking gun type evidence if the evidence existed. Instead, what I'm worried about is that we're getting things that people think that they can explain, a bunch of different ways. Now, I know that doesn't account for everything. There's people saying, well, there's no way that we don't have this propulsion technology. This couldn't exist. But I don't know. What do you think of the idea that if they had better evidence, we'd see it right now?
Yeah, so I disagree with that because I think we are actually seeing really good evidence that's not easily explained in that you say a smoking gun. I think some of these UAP videos are smoking guns because they can't be explained by what we know about technology right now. And those were not originally declassified by the Navy. They came out, people saw them before the Navy actually declassified them. So I think there's sort of a scramble at the Pentagon to handle this sensitively in a way way that doesn't trigger panic or seem crazy, but to do it so that they're sort of keeping under wraps what they want to keep under wraps, even though some of the stuff has managed to just sort of trickle out when you had people that were spending time in the Pentagon going into civilian life and speaking more openly about it. They have to address it somehow. You can see this video right here. It's one of the things that I would actually consider a smoking gun. It's not an alien corpse, as the question got at. And, you know, maybe I honestly have no idea, but that's what a lot of people are starting to think. And I think the job of reporters is to put the questions that the people have to the powerful. It's not to impress the powerful or your peers in journalism. It's actually to be a representative and a voice for what people think. And to get that sort of interaction, I think was helpful. I don't think that the Pentagon has alien corpses, but I do think that
do you think
there
they
are a
have
lot
alien
of things people
corpses,
previously
bro?
dismissed as crazy and conspiratorial and tinfoil hat that are probably a lot more credible than those folks realized.
I don't know if they're corpses.
Like, what are people
but,
who believe that
think
the
Roswell's
Pentagon is
real.
still covering up some evidence? You know, is there enough of a faction within the Pentagon?
Grim,
do you
they
think that we're going to
definitely
see some of that in the next few months?
You know, I think we've seen senators, let's say like Marco Rubio, who have come out and started talking about this in a national security context. And I think that gives this a lot of energy as it moves into the public discourse with more credibility and plausibility than it has previously. That's the kind of thing that forces reporters to ask senators these questions. It's the kind of thing that triggers more coverage from the Post and the New York Times. So I actually don't think this conversation is going anywhere. I don't think anybody in a position of power right now is in a good position to dismiss the new skepticism and concerns. I do think we probably will start to see more strategery from the Pentagon, and it's always interesting to sort of parse through that, as we did last week, saying, you know, what is the real motivation behind this press release? What is the real motivation behind this statement? There's going to be more of that, but I do think that people, you can't put the genie back in the bottle with UAPs, and I think that's the point that we're getting to right now.
Right, and given an infinite universe, it does seem like it would be a little bit closed-minded to suggest that it's certain that it's completely impossible.
Yeah, sort of my galaxy brain, Elon Musk on Joe Rogan take is that we always lose perspective in our daily news coverage of sort of like bringing in the scope of human history and the scope of the universe. Like we're very much in this insular American 2021 conversation about the news of the day in this country with life as it is right now. And I think that sort of skews coverage, and understandably so. But hey, you know, like you just said, with an infinite universe, UAPs don't look so crazy.
No, they don't.
We'll have more Rising for you right after this.
Okay.
What
do you think, bro? What
do you think?
I don't know. I think the Hill's gonna get these guys out of there really fast.
I take back all the nice things I was saying about Grimm.
What do you mean? Like, why did you take him back?
I don't like his skeptic takes there.
Oh, that's what it is. The skeptic takes, bro. Damn.
Yeah.
Well, look, I don't think he wanted to talk about UFOs at all. I think they just want. I think that was like a executive decision.
Well, no, like his interpretation, where he was like, "Oh, like what if, you know, like what do you think that like if they had better information, we'd be seeing it? Like, what, like, how is he like any kind of like Intercept reporter, and he is gonna say shit like that? Like he thinks that like they're being honest with us, and if there was better info, we would have it, right? That's like I just don't know who trusts them, period. Like, when have they ever told the truth, first of all? And second of all, like, why? Like, they're clearly doing some sort of, like, drip feed thing here, right? Like, it's not, you know, they've been planning some sort of, like, you know, slow disclosure thing, it seems, for a while, right? And then, like, that same Harris thing, if that's true, which it does jive with the other stuff we've been going over, right? So, like, Sam Harris says he was contacted by intelligence agents who want his help disseminating UFO info, right? If that's true, then what? I mean, that's it. That's a fucking bombshell, right? That's like the truth is here, right? Like they're here, you know, like we have to accept that as a reality.
Yeah,
I do think
like for me, I just keep contemplating the greater geopolitical implications of that. You know, I mean, I don't know if it would really change any kind of power structures or imbalances or anything else to have that as the new existence that we have. You know, but the only thing I could say offhand out of my instincts is just that people would call for more of an effort to make contact with them if that was the reality.
Yeah, I think it would definitely jumpstart like you know, spacecraft development and, you know, communications techniques, and we would try to figure out that technology, right? Like we would try to figure out that, you know, that propulsion system they have, which I think would be fucking sick, right? Like anything would be better than spending $1 trillion a year on this fucking terrible, you know, the military industrial complex is just, you know, like don't really seem to have made too many breakthroughs recently, right? Like the only kind of like tech developments that they seem to have is shit that's like commercially viable, you know, in other arenas. So like they could definitely use some sort of switch, you know, some sort of paradigm switch with like at least their focus, like their development efforts. And like, yeah, I don't want to fund them more. It would be nice if we could use that $1 trillion a year on actually looking into like breakthrough science. It's just that like, they're not going to do that shit. They're only going to do whatever's most profitable and the easiest and most profitable. So it's not going to be like, you know, unless they're actually motivated to, you know, go into new tech, which, I mean, I think it would kind of suck though if we say that like, okay, they're here, like they've been visiting us, but that's the only contact we've had, right? Like they won't answer when we try to hail them. You know, that would fucking suck.
What do they respond hostilely when we try to hail them?
I mean, if they're hostile, then, you know, then we gotta, you know, step our game up.
Oh, okay.
What is it?
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, like, if they respond hostilely when we try to get in contact with them, but otherwise they leave us alone.
I don't think that'll change our posture. You know, I think we'll continue trying to contact them and continue trying to develop the tech. And, you know, like, we'll definitely, you know, jumpstart our space development, which is what I want. You know, like, I want us to take the $1 trillion a year we spend on F-35s and, you know, Humvees and shit and spend it on space development. Like, if we're going to spend all that money on military industrial complex, like, at least let's spend it on something that might actually have some use for the world, and not just, you know, like making fat cats